think we are almost there. Or hello, I'm assuming we're live, but we'll take a few seconds to confirm that we are.
Is anyone watching? If anyone's watching, send a comment.
Yeah, if anyone is live, send a hi in the chat so that we know that we are live and so that we know that you are there. So, before we start, Ishaan, how are you?
How am I? We can just go really philosophical on this question. Yeah, I'm great, man. Yeah, uh, lots of things are happening. Really confusing but exciting time in my life.
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
But
sounds good. Okay, it seems that we're live, and even if we're not, let's not. Yeah, we are. We are. Okay.
okay,
So,
great.
hello everyone, whoever is there who is watching, a quick introduction on what we're doing here. So, the agenda, the way we'll work on this podcast is that we'll have no agenda, we'll have no set of questions, we'll have no specific prompts before starting on what we want to talk about. But then we'll have broad topics. For example, with Ishaan, we can talk about marketing, we can talk about building agencies, we can talk about how to have a good career. We can, of course, talk about life in general. So we'll have broad topics like these that we'll talk about, but then there's no pre-decided set of questions that we want to ask so that we can flow within the conversation instead of binding ourselves with with specific things that only we should focus on. So yeah, the idea is go with the flow of the conversation, and then so that the answers, the questions, the topics that we talk about are more natural and comes from within instead of a lot of logical ideas. Like, if you check Ishan's LinkedIn, you'll think that, hey, we'll talk about marketing, but that's not going to be it. So say that please pardon if the intro was not really good because things are not yet figured out. We'll figure things out. We'll I guess streamline things as we start working on this. But anyways, welcome Ishaan. How are you doing? And for anyone who does not know you, please tell us about yourself.
Yeah. So, hey, I have been running a marketing agency. I think that's my personal, I think my, what are you doing or who are you? Sort of that's what I'm tying my identity to nowadays, right? I've been running a marketing agency since last year. That's the first time I think in my life I'm only working on a single thing. So that's going pretty great. We've just built out our entire team. And that's like the most exciting thing that's happening at the moment. Yeah, we work with B2B software companies, so that's that's basically it, right? I'll keep it short.
All right. So the question that comes from here is that, hey, what kind of marketing do you do, or how did you start your agency? But that would be too mainstream to ask, so we'll go other way. We want to understand that what is important for you. What is something that motivates you, or what is something that you work for, or what is something that inspires you to work on what you're working? Or yeah, I mean, I've phrased it in three different ways, but pick whatever suits you.
Yeah. So I am way too structured, right? I think we've had this discussion before. I've always wanted a target, and sort of like work towards that target. And you've always been a person who sort of just goes to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and figures out where you go in life, right? So with me, I have yearly visions or like stuff that I work towards. So in 2020, my vision was become someone that the 2019 me would look up to. In 2021, my vision was that I wanted to materialize freedom. Starting an agency, I just went in the opposite way completely. So this year, finally, the vision is happiness and prestige. Right? Like this year, I really want to increase the amount of maybe happiness that I have in my life personally, right? And also like just maybe the prestige factor, right, of the stuff that I like, that I feel that increases my personal prestige in front of maybe others. That's a long answer to your question,
No, it's
right?
not long. It's pretty brief. So what you're saying is, you are more focused on doing what makes you happy, and second thing is, your aim is to be better, be a better self from where you were the previous year.
So every year there's a different theme.
Acha.
2019 there was a theme, 2020 there was a theme, and 2022 again there's a different theme. This time I'm focusing on happiness and prestige. But like if you look at a broader sense, right? Yeah, I've just been like very like aggressively growth focused. I think just like you, right?
Mhm, mhm.
Like yeah, so like whatever that means, like, and what growth means changes every year, personally for me.
Right. Okay. Interesting. So yeah, this is going in the good in a good direction. So two things. One, what do you mean by prestige? Second, growth is defined differently every year for you. So is it, do you put active efforts to define your growth, or is it more like this podcast that hey, we'll figure out while we are doing it?
I actually set apart from the vision, I also set like 10 sort of like KPIs for life or like goals for the year every year. It varies like 10 to 12, and then these are like, some of them are business oriented, some of them are relationships oriented, some of them are health oriented. So I create these buckets every year as well. As I said, I'm way too structured. So for example, this year my four buckets are health, relationships, prestige, and wealth. So these
Okay.
are my four buckets for this year.
Hmm.
And then I have like goals, that how do I know that I've actually achieved something under each one of these things.
Okay.
Yeah, and like I think the biggest factor is not that it helps me like, or motivates me, or like gives me direction, and or any of that. The biggest reason why this helps is at the end of the year I actually look at it and then I see, oh okay, 1 year back I thought this was a big deal.
Right. Right.
Otherwise you just achieve things and then they are not valuable, and then yeah, you just like keep going with life looking at the next shiny thing, and then never
Hmm.
appreciate what you've done over the year.
Yeah. Got it. So. Uh, Again, going back to your idea about having 10 KPIs or goals for a year, and you
Mhm.
mentioned business relationships wealth. And if it's not too intrusive, can you give an example? Should not be, does not need to be a real life in, as in, what is your relationship goal? But for example, if I want to keep a relationship goal for this year, what, like, how do you think about it? What would be a good goal to have for relationship, business, and for wealth?
So I think one person that does a very good job at this is Noah Kagan. He actually shares his goals also very frequently. If you Google it, you'll find his goals and how he does it. I think I've based my framework a little bit on his, but I'll give you a few examples of like goals on relationships, right? For example, it could be something very simple, like going on, like this year, one of my goals is I want to go on a trip with my brother. Now, if as soon as I've gone on the trip, that's like I've checked it off and that goal has been completed. So I know when the goal gets completed, and that's very important for me. Or like spending X number of days with someone. One goal that I haven't figured out is like that. The only goal in my 10 list that I haven't figured out for this year, like what, how do I know when it's completed, is the one with friends. Like I don't, I want to get better at like just maintaining a relationship with my friends, but I don't know how I'll know when I've achieved the goal. But yeah, that's something, right? Or so in relationships, it varies quite a bit.
Right. So for to summarize for people who are watching this is that what Ishaan is saying is that for relationship you can have goals like, hey, I'll go with my significant other for a trip this year. I will talk with them 1 hour a day, for example. Again, not saying that this is a good goal to have, but just some ideas, right? Or you can say that, hey, we'll go on a trip, we'll talk every day. We can create a savings account where we can save money together, could be one
Yep.
relationship goal. So yeah, these are good ideas. But And this is interesting for me because I'm totally opposite, right? I don't bind myself with not goals, but with where or so I know my goals, but I do not know how I'm going to reach these goals is something that I believe in. So anyways, going back to you. So what we know about Ishaan till now is that Ishaan runs an agency. He's really organized and he's micro organized in terms of what where he want to reach and how he want to reach there. So
And I laugh a lot. Yeah.
you laugh a lot or you love a lot.
Yeah, I've just been like laughing and smiling the entire time for I think it's been 10 minutes. So
Nice. You laugh a lot. Okay, noted. So out of this, so one question I have again, sorry, before
yep.
we move on from organization, one question I have is what tool do you use to note all of this down and how do you track it?
It's I don't think that matters at all, right? For example, I personally use Notion. Before this, I used to use Excel. I personally like Notion because I can make notes, or if I want, I can add photos to something. Like, for example, one of my goals last year was to have like an epically memorable day with someone, right? And that is literally the definition of the goal. Now, when I thought I had the day, like, how do I know I've achieved it? I just pasted a picture from that day in the Notion page, and then I could mark that as complete. So, like, so I personally like Notion. A lot of my life already is on Notion, so I just continue with that, right? So Notion works for me. Excel could work for you. It could literally be just your notes, like color note, or yeah, anything could work. Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. That's good. Okay, so moving on from organizing stuff, how do you decide your goals? Right. So you say that for we did not talk about your business goals, but
Mhm.
let's say you just started your agency 1 year ago,
Mhm.
how, and your goal is to say get to 1 million revenue per
Yep. Yep.
year. What makes you think that you want to reach 1 million? And yeah, that's one.
So, are you asking about business goals or all my? Because my goals are intertwined between business. For example, my wealth goals, a lot of them have business goals in them. So, are you talking about like business?
In
How do I
general.
set business goals, or how do I set my life goals?
Yeah, in general goals. And the reason I want to ask is for people to understand that how the people who are organized like you, people who
Mhm.
are achievers like you, how do they decide goals, right? People have different ways of deciding goals. Some would have very optimistic goals, some would have realistic goals, some would someone like me would not have goals. So how does it work for you? Why do you decide the goal that you decided is your goal?
I'll start with my life goals because we've been talking about that, but then I'll also go into like business or marketing goals because the way I do that is very different. So, for example, life goals, I sort of just look at okay, what is something that I want this year, or like what would just make me feel good, right? And I try and create a broad concept out of it, like broadly, this is what I want primarily, right? This is like a broad thing that I want, and that's what I call my vision. So the first thing I always define is my vision, and if you're not able to, like for the first year I wasn't able to define my vision, I start with goals and then I try and figure out a vision. And it's like a very like, okay, what are the things that I want and how can I tie it to a broad concept? And then if any goal, and then I try and figure out how do I divide my life into parts. Like this year, what are the different segments of my life? This year, the segments of my life are wealth, health, relationship, and prestige, right? So those are the four parts of my life this year. But there's a lot of different ways you can do that. You can keep your friends and family separately. You can, for some people that could be something. You could keep your, like maybe performance at work versus side hustle separately. So every year how you segment your life also changes. So identify the segments and then add, like, how do I, then I look at every segment and then I look at, okay, so how do I know that I did good in this for this segment? For example, from a relationship, how do I know I've done a good job at maintaining a relationship this year? or all my relationships this year? Or how do I know I've done a good job at increasing my wealth this year? Like, how do I know I've done it? Right. So, yeah,
So two
personal.
things. One, I'll put you on feed and I'll commit to people who watches this. If our video reaches 100 likes, I will have Ishaan make for us a Notion template that you can use to track your goals. Ishaan, are you in for it?
Done. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. I really wanted to move on from this, but again, I have one more question.
Yeah.
You say that defining your vision is important, and I know that it's a very it's a tough process, right? It's really hard to understand what your vision is and actually being able to define it.
Yep.
And I know this. I've not defined vision for myself, but I know this because I work with startups, and then they seem to be really confused about what their vision could be. Also, there are confusions around what is a vision and what is a mission. So let's not go into business direction for this, but from a personal perspective, what are visions and how do you define it? And when I say how to define it, I want to know the technicalities of it, not your thought process behind it. So, as in, yeah, I'll let you talk about it and see if I have any follow-up questions.
Okay. So, so what is a vision versus what is not a vision for me? I'll basically talk about that, right?
Yeah.
And why should it something? Why should I? Yeah. Okay. So, for example, the vision. Why do I keep a vision? Is because it's like a broad guiding principle for me, right? And then if I'm taking any decision and I know it does not help me achieve my vision, I will not take it.
Give an example.
For example, previously, right, I used to always work on at least 3 projects at the same time, sometimes 5 or 6. And when I say projects, these could be full-time jobs for some people. So I would always work on these things, right? And as soon as I defined a vision, I sort of then it became very easy for me to evaluate whether I should continue this project or not. And yeah, some of those projects were just not in line with what I wanted to do. So I just cut them off, right? And one thing you'll see, right, with me, the vision are like a year-long vision, right? Usually visions should be like 10 years or 5 years or something. For me, that does not work. So I keep like a 1-year vision. So like usually vision should be a long enough time frame that that you don't really need to know how to achieve it. But it just needs to be a broad guiding principle, right? For example, I won't technically just achieve it like happiness this year, right? Like I won't just go like just be happy all the time from next year onwards, but every decision that I'm taking should take me in that direction. So like that's one. Second should be like it should really be motivating enough for you to want to work towards it, right? And that's same with a company, right? For example, for Spear Growth, which is my agency, we basically we do 3 things. We run ads, we're doing SEO, and all of these are very technical stuff. Right? Now, if you apply the same thing to a company's vision, so our vision is that we want to and again these vision statements can get optimized over the years, right? So our basically thing is we want to make scaling and launching a B2B business easier through expert demand generation. Right? Now, usually a vision is larger than what you do. So, for example, whatever you're doing, you will most probably not achieve the vision. Like it's not a goal. It needs to be large. Right? For example, when we are running ads, we are not literally making making it easier for anyone, like all the companies in the world to scale easier at the moment. But then we will be, for example, we'll create very good SOPs, and for example, like next week onwards, I'm thinking of creating like training documents and sharing it with the world, which is a very bad idea because all of our competitors can look at it any company that wants to hire talent will not have to invest on it, and we would have invested all of our money. But it is like having the vision makes it a very easy decision for us to take, because yes, that contributes towards the vision. So it's like it makes taking a decision like that easier.
All right.
Yeah.
You're saying something?
No, that's it. Like, does that answer the question?
It does. It does. So 3 pointers to summarize what Ishaan says. One is vision is not equal to is not same as your goal. Your vision should be larger than life. It does not need to be something that you necessarily need to achieve, but
Yep.
it defines the path that you walk in, right?
Yep.
And then while you're walking that path, you will have multiple goals that you will achieve to finally, say that, hey, I am 50% there towards my vision,
Yeah.
which is what the first thing is. Second is, uh, and this is both combined, life and business. If your vision does not align with what you are doing at the moment, you should not do it.
Yep.
For life, it is if your vision is to travel a lot, you should not stay at your home for more than 30 days, for example,
Yeah.
given that there's no COVID restrictions. And for business, if your vision or if the client that you're getting, no matter how much they're paying, and we are still to discuss this, no matter how much they're paying, if they are not within the criteria that fits and that takes you towards the vision path, you should not take that client. Is that correct or no? If the client gives you a lot of money, would you take them even if they are not within your criteria?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'll answer it this way, right? For example, I'll give you two scenarios. One, either, so for example, if taking that client gives me enough resources to then help me achieve my vision by doing something else, then yes, right?
Nice.
Otherwise, no, right? Like we've turned down a lot of money, more than an agency our size probably should, but we regularly turn down quite a bit of money just because it does not align with what we're doing at the moment or what we want to be an expert at or any of those things. Yeah.
All right. So, what you're saying is you have a client which, so to clarify for people, Ishaan and his agency only work with B2B SaaS. Now, what you're saying is if you will only work with B2B SaaS no matter what, 99% of the time. For the 1%, if there's SaaS, or if it's B2B but it's not SaaS, and you generally do not work, but if they're paying enough money or if they're giving you enough resources, for example, it's a really nice company which can help you with a lot of connections. In that case, if not the company itself, but the connections can again help you get into the direction or achieve your goal of working with B2B SaaS and then ultimately achieve your vision, then you would work with them.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Makes sense. And the third thing that you mentioned earlier, which is you will open source documentations or SOPs that you've created for your agency, which could be then available publicly to anyone, any other agency, including your competitors. So tell me two things. One is, what are these documents? What would they have within them? And second, why would you do this?
Yeah. So obviously we haven't figured everything out, right? We're a 9-month-old company, but for example, from next week onwards, most probably we're going to be doing a lot of training. For example, we'll take one role and we do a lot of extensive training. For example, in the B2B world, it's very hard to find copywriters. And I was just having this discussion in my community. We've also built a community, by the way, of around 160, 170 marketers. So let's say we do a certain kind of training with copywriters who join our company. And it's just very difficult to find good B2B copywriters. So we have to talk about stuff apart from copywriting. For example, we'll be probably talking about businesses, what are different business functions. We'll be talking about a lot of these other things which are skipped when someone is trying to learn quote unquote copywriting or stuff, right? So we'll create sort of a live course out of it and we'll just put it on YouTube, right? Now, and so this can then be taken by any other company and say that, hey, you know what, instead of us trying to train you, why don't you just watch that series which is free on YouTube, right? That's it, right? So that essentially is helping us achieve our vision of, because we are then really making it easier for companies to grow and scale, to launch and scale marketing channels, right? Because even if you're not working with someone, they're able to use our videos and then sort of, use that to grow the company.
Okay, makes sense. You mentioned that it will be kind of a training, and by training you mean it will teach marketing. Is that correct?
Either marketing or the stuff required to then do marketing in a B2B world. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So now that we are kind of segueing into marketing and people looking for jobs,
Yeah.
I like an upfront question. What do if you're hiring someone and you hire you have experience in hiring people, you have experience in training people you've hired, you work with your team. So my question is, what do you look out for in someone you hire for different roles? I want to make this very specific, right?
Yeah.
For different roles, because you cannot look out for the same things for people who are applying for different roles, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and this is apart from technical stuff. So you're looking for social media manager. Of course you need them to know Facebook ads, or how to you know do organic social media. Or if you're looking for SEO person, you expect them to know SEO. But apart
Yeah.
from that, what are different qualities or characteristics that you would look out for them? One, let's say, would be a general B2B marketer. One. Second would be a designer. And in case that you do not have experience in hiring them, you can also get in the context of hiring an agency that you're outsourcing, right?
Okay.
So what do you look out for? And then third could be one would be B2B person, second would be a designer, third would be a general operations person who can do day-to-day business operations. So
Yeah.
for these three roles, what would you look out for?
Okay. So can I change the role slightly or go deeper into the role slightly?
No, it's okay. Yeah.
Yep. So for example, if you're hiring for more of a leadership sort of role, if you're hiring a general B2B marketer, right? It depends a lot. Like, so whenever companies say general, it's usually like there's a set of specific things that company needs to do. And then there's a different set of specific things that a different company needs to do. Right now, when you say general, it's either a leadership role or a all-rounder who's going to just work, do everything, right? So if it's a leadership role, then hiring, talking about business, how are you going to map business to marketing? So those skills, proof of expertise, proof of scale, proof of like all of those things are what I'm looking at when you're hiring a more senior role. And then also, I usually, whenever I'm trying to hire a senior, or like when I'm involved in a process when a senior person is being hired, usually we look at marketers, we try and categorize, okay, what kind of a marketer do we need? For example, does this company need a lot of PR and organic? Does this company need a lot of brand? Does this company need a lot of, what else, right? So in that case, we sort of then look at, okay, even a general marketer has their own, they have their own, strengths. So we look at, okay, is that aligned? Then there's an industry alignment, right? Have you done something? For example, if it's B2B SaaS, have you done something in B2B SaaS before? You could be the best copywriter in the world. Like, let's say you're 100 on copywriting and there's someone else is 80. But then the person who's 100 has done, like, let's say, hasn't worked in B2B SaaS, and the person who's at 80, right, has worked in B2B SaaS. I would probably choose the person who's 80 because they just know a little more, bit more about the industry, right? So those are some things I look at. Irrespective of the role, right? Like the thing that changes the most is, one, if you aren't hiring for leadership position, you aren't looking for business savviness and being able to map someone's marketing ability or hiring ability or all of those non-marketing things. With the leadership role, those are more important than your marketing expertise. in my opinion. And when you're hiring someone who's like an all-rounder, like again, the attitude is also very different, right? You want someone who's like always on, just like shipping really fast, because if you get someone who's worked at larger teams and they like, taking their time creating in something, reviewing it, and then shipping it out in a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, after a couple of rounds of reviews and stuff like that, there's no way that person will be able to manage everything. And there's not something wrong between the two, it's just that the mindset is very different. So that's another aspect. And finally, like the one thing that is like almost like a yes or no factor, right? If there isn't a culture fit, there's no way we'll hire, right? There's
But what do you mean by culture fit? How, like practically saying, how do you find a culture fit?
so there's like what excites you. So okay, there's so when you speak, so do you want to hang out with that person? Would you hang out with that? For example, in my company, right, we have monthly dinners. Company pays for it. We all just come on a Zoom call. It's a 2 hour call. Everyone can order whatever they want, right? Whenever they want in that time. Then we all just eat food.
The
We
company
sort
pays
of
for it, right?
play games. Sorry, yeah,
And the company pays for it.
yeah. And the company pays for this, right?
Hmm.
So we have these monthly dinners. I have never in any company seen that you can speak with the entire team for 2 hours and
Hmm.
still want to stay on the call
Hmm.
without there being a single awkward moment.
Yeah, so I would like to differ a bit, right? And
Mhm.
I want to know your opinion. I'm pretty sure that I'm wrong here, but
Mhm.
the general idea is that if you are the founder, if you are the boss, not saying that you are bossy, but if you are the boss of the team, you would not know that if people are liking or not, right? They would say, so if you'd be working for a company, you and your colleagues internally would say that, yeah, ye kya chal raha hai? I don't want to
Yep,
attend these
yep.
meetings. But then your boss would not know this. The same way, now that you own a company and you have a team working for you, maybe you think that they are enjoying, but they might not be. So how do you make sure of that? I mean, why you are sure that they are enjoying it?
It's not because these meetings are not formal at all, right? Like if you're hanging out with someone, you cannot. I don't know, and I may be wrong, right? And this is something that I keep thinking about as well, right? But then, like uh, the kind of rapport I have with some people, right? They can just like, and they have told me on my face that hey, this is not good, and it's just very open, right? Like hey, I don't like this, right? Or this does not align with what I want. Do you really want me to work on this? Or when I give a task, like they can just say that hey, yeah, I don't want to work on this, or like this does not make sense to me. Why am I like we've already built that culture where that is in place. Obviously with that, like everyone has to like never miss a deadline, or always like there's a quality of work that's expected, that's always already done. But apart from that, I don't know, I think since there are like really 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 open and direct communication lines and really honest communication lines from my side and from their side, uh, and then I mean if you're speaking with someone for 2 hours, right, how long can you fake a laugh?
Right? Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair.
Mm.
Okay. So you have the feeling, yeah, you're feeling that it's good. And
Yeah.
then you are saying that these people that you are doing dinners with are so upfront that if they are not liking, they would tell you already. They would not
Yeah.
take shit from you. Okay, yeah, that's fair. So going back, right, what you are saying about someone being a culture fit is that you would know that if you would want to hang out with that person. Again,
That's one.
a
Yeah.
different perspective here is that there would be a lot of smarter people who you'd not want to hang out to or to
We
hang
won't
out
work
with.
with them.
You would not. But what if they can do their job? Like I sometimes like get awkward with people. I don't want to hang out with them, but I'm sure that I can do the work. I'm a nice guy. I would be a great addition to the team, is what I believe. But then, why would you not want to hire me? And not me as in
Yeah, I get it.
someone
Yeah,
who
yeah,
can do the
yeah.
work really well, but are not, uh, let's say, um, being able to portray their um, um, uh, what are their want of being, want of hanging out with you, basically. Yeah.
Before I answer this, can I tell you how I take the interviews?
Please,
Like
yeah,
what
yeah.
an interview with me looks like. It's like it's a conversation, right? So for example, I've never asked like, tell me about yourself, or like questions like that. Usually we go on a call and I am the one telling people about the company, right? And I'm telling that, hey, we will probably need your help here, or we'll need your help there, or like, and you know me, right? I'm always smiling and laughing, and obviously people aren't as open in those conversations, or I'm trying to get someone, or I'm trying to always see what is getting them excited, like what excites them. Like we start discussing new ideas on the call, like on the interview call we started discussing new ideas on what can we do. We'll talk about scenarios, and I'll also jump in and we start brainstorming things. So that is what we do. And when you are sort of doing stuff like brainstorming and stuff, right, it's less of a question and answer, and like a lot of that goes away,
Mm.
right? Now, because it becomes so content, that has happened almost every time. And yes, there are times where it just cannot happen, right? Where just, and then and those times when people don't get comfortable, I might take a lot of wrong decisions as well, and I agree with that. But just because of how the interview process is there, a lot of times we find the people who you would want to speak with. And then if there are people who you won't want to speak with, uh, right, or you won't like enjoy hanging out with, right, but can do a good job, then especially in a small team, there's like communication lines that get affected. Or like for example, in our company, right, if I was just talking about it the other day, if you look at HR work, it's very important, right? I've divided into a couple of buckets. The most important bucket, or the most complicated bucket, is motivation.
Mm.
And then it's just like, there's like, how do you identify someone who's motivated, and then making sure they're like, or trying to make them intrinsically motivated.
Mm.
uh, so that part becomes very difficult if you don't want to hang out with some, or with your team.
Mm. Mm. Okay.
And then yeah,
Right,
I'm not sure if
right.
I'm able to like exactly uh, like
Yeah.
yeah.
So what I think is, when we say hang out, you do not necessarily mean that you would hang out and talk about games or talk about life.
Right.
It's not necessary. You may also talk about work while you're hanging out.
Yeah.
For me, that is how it is, right? You should be able to geek out with that person, not necessarily about other things. Even if not that, you should be able to geek out about what you work, or surroundings of your work, right?
Yep.
So, for example, when we meet, we sometimes talk about businesses, we talk about marketing, we do talk about life, but then
Yep.
does not mean that we do need to talk about life to be able to good hangout friends.
Yeah. Just if you're able to, so would you want to speak with them on a 2 hour call and continue the conversation?
Hmm. Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
litmus test. Yeah.
makes sense. Makes sense. Okay. Yeah, other thing I want to go back to regarding culture fit was yeah. So regarding interview was that and I'm really happy that now we are changing the way we see interviews. Before, now it used to be that, hey, I ask questions, you give me answers. It should be formal. You should not laugh. You should smile. You should wear formal clothes. You should have a resume. I mean, resumes are still there, but that's also something that's been duplicating time by time.
Mhm.
But I really like how we are evolving as people who interview people, in terms of not being too strict about it. And and something that you certainly mentioned, but I really want to highlight, is the fact that when you are interviewing someone, you are on the interviewing side, you are the interviewer, and then there's someone who's you
Yeah.
are interviewing. Then you would want to start by explaining what you do, who you are, instead of starting by asking them who they are, because it just makes them feel at peace, feel at ease when it's you who is starting, right? And you really want to do that as an interviewer. You do not want to come off as a strict person, or come off as someone as a bossy person, because that does not bring out the best of the other person,
Yep.
right? So if you want to bring out the best from the person who you are interviewing, you'd want to be more friendly, you'd want to be more
Yeah.
casual. And the best way to do that is by starting by saying that, hey, I'm Deep, this is what I do, this is what the company does, this is the role that we are looking at. And then go and say that, hey, would you like to maybe talk a bit about yourself, instead of starting off by saying, hey, what jobs have you done, which is a very bad start, right? So thanks for pointing that out. That's good.
So I think this works for us. It may not work for a lot of other companies. Like I'll just like mention that. Like this is something that works for us. That's it, right? Like
And then
yeah.
why would you say that it won't work for other companies?
For example, if there is a larger company or for example, we do a lot of we've already stated how structured I am, right? We have a lot of processes in our company. But with the processes enable creativity, right? Like that's how we built any process. It's been very difficult to do that, but the processes are more like frameworks on how to think about things, or like what are some checklists that you can probably go to. But it's not like do step 1, do step 3, do step 4. If you're hiring for a job where you don't need to think too much, every single person in my team can like contribute apart from just checking off things, right? But then if you want someone who you're hiring and you have a process that is very strict, you have videos, people just need to watch the video and click on the same thing, or just need to copy and paste it somewhere, then this you probably just want someone who's really good at following instructions and needs the money. I don't know, and has maybe relevant experience. I don't know if I haven't hired for that. I don't know. So in a lot of scenarios, this might not be the best way to hire, because this makes it hard to hire people.
Got it. So imagine the best interview that you've taken, and the whole process from reading the resume of that person to going on an interview with them, to finalizing the offer, to hiring them, and then working with them, right? That one person that you are really proud that you read their resume, you found them, you hired them, you're able to work with them. What are a few characteristics from the whole journey? Hey, this was good about his resume or her resume. This was good about his or her way of talking in the interview. This is the good thing about how they are working with me. So tell us a few characteristics of this person that is your best hire and that was the best interview that you've had, and also was a really good resume.
I don't ask for resumes.
Nice.
So we have a form where if you want, it's optional. If you want, you can add the resume. I don't ask for it. Like if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, then maybe just drop your resume if you have that. Because I don't know what all am I supposed to look at in a resume, right? Most resumes aren't created in a way that I want to consume information. Like,
please feel free to talk more about why you don't like resumes if you want.
Yeah, I mean, because people aren't good at making resumes, honestly. Resumes in itself aren't bad. Resumes is like a very good concept, but people don't know how to create a resume, so it's useless. For example, a good resume for me you would have to talk about, okay, what was your contribution, what are the metrics you were looking at, what were some successes, not about that what did you do, right? So it would help me understand, okay, what is your thought process, what are some things that you do, or like what are the thing that you value, what is the thing that you valued and then achieved in that. So it would help me sort of understand, okay, how do you think, and it would show me some sort of proof of past expertise, right? So and most resumes do a pretty bad job at doing that. They just have a list of things that they did, and like so that's so our hiring process, right? We're actually changing this now. Like from the next role onwards, we'll be changing this quite a bit. But currently, we use 3 platforms, 4. One, the top one is referrals. Every time I hire, I send you a message. Do you know it? Even if you've said no in the past, I'll ask you again, do you know someone now? Secondly, I'll reach out to people on LinkedIn whether I know them or not, but who are somewhat a fit to our profile. And I won't ask them if they want to join us, because I hate companies who poach. But I ask them that uh, whether they know someone, because, for example, a copywriter will know other copywriters, a performance marketer will know other performance marketers. So I sort of reach out to people and I look at, okay, who are you willing to refer? Because then it also sort of puts your reputation in the line, so that becomes like a filtering factor. So if I get anyone through referral, they're already ahead. Second place I look at is I've already built a community of that I mentioned about, right? About 160, 170 marketers. There, I always drop a message. If someone joins from there, it's not a filtered community, but we have training sessions regularly. And if I've seen that person in training sessions earlier, because you sort of remember the names of the people who join the calls, if I have seen that person, they're much more likely to be hired, because in our culture, we want people who are willing to learn rapidly. And our sessions are usually held on Sundays. If you're willing to sort of learn on Sundays, it's already a plus point. So that's the second source that I'll look at. The third and fourth sources are just different platforms. So I always post on LinkedIn, and that's been our most um, successful hiring channel. And I pay for the LinkedIn. I just promote the job post, right? It works better for roles where there are a lot of people, and it works worse for roles where there aren't a lot of people to apply, because you get a lot of junk there, or a lot of people who aren't really, who are, let's say, operations specialist at some industrial company. They will apply for a marketing role for some reason, right? Like, you get a lot of people like that on LinkedIn. But LinkedIn has been working really well. Hirect actually worked well for us last time. This time we're actually going to publish on every single channel or every single platform we can find, to see if that works out and what other channels will work out. But those two have been working really well for us. But even there, there's always a form people have to fill out, and not the LinkedIn form. Like, you cannot easily apply and get on a call with us. At the end of the description, there is a link to a Google form. If you have gone through the description, you reach the Google form, and then if you fill out that form, only then can you. So that sort of puts another filter of, okay, they actually know what they're applying for, and they sort of know how to follow basic instructions, which is very rare. I hope it wasn't as rare, right? And then in the forms are lengthy, but I'm not asking questions that anyone can Google answers to. I'm asking things like, what newsletters do you follow, or like, what are some things that you have noticed, right? Like, not so general, right? But they would be more specific. Like, I would divide a job into the basic skills. And for example, if it's like SEO, right? So I would ask, like, okay, what are the top newsletters about SEO that you follow? Who are the top people on LinkedIn that you follow for SEO? Right. So questions like that, which don't have a right answer, I would ask those questions in the form. And then if you have any samples of past work, I ask people to upload that. And that then they get we chat a bit. I ask for more information. We get on a call, have an interview, and either hire on spot or hire on a second interview after I gather more information. That's how it usually works.
All right. So yeah, interesting thing about your process is that you do not focus on generic stuff that there is on their resume, or it's then on their LinkedIn profile, or you do not ask generic question. And I see a lot of companies do this. When you easy apply, they ask you that how many years of SEO experience do you have, and you can select 1, 2, 3, 4, which does not tell a lot about their experience
Yeah.
and how skilled they are. But what
The
you do
most
is
the most junior person, the skill wise, the most junior person I've ever hired had 12 years of experience doing that job.
most junior person.
The most junior person, skill wise, that I hired had on paper 12 years of doing that job. And the most senior person I've hired for the same job had, I think, 2 years of experience on paper.
Yeah, great segue. I really want to talk this. And when I wrote career in the thumbnail, this is what I meant. is what I want to talk about, how to have a good career trajectory, right? So either it's linear or it's exponential, right? And what you said is that the 12 year guy who had 12 years experience, and then you are saying that he was still in a junior position, is what you mean.
He had the most junior level skills. Like he had to be trained the most.
Got it. And then there was another person who had a few years experience, but he was really good skill wise.
Yeah, I'll shout him out. He's Akarshan. He joined our team like 5 days back. He just joined in. He's able to manage everything and add to his own.
Good. So, what do you think, learning wise, makes both of them different? So, if I am someone who wants to be like Akarshan,
Yep.
what should I do to make sure that I'm not the other guy and I can have my career exponentially grow in a few years, so that I can, what my goal is, I can earn more, I can have a better role, whatever, right? So, how do I make sure that my learning is such that my career is career can grow exponentially?
Maybe I'm thinking too much about it recently. That's why I'm answering with this repeatedly.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe it's just like the kind of motivation you have, right? Is it intrinsic motivation or extrinsic motivation? Sadly, it's also external factors like what kind of mentors you've had. And mentors usually are managers. Like in most cases, the closest thing to a mentor I've seen is a manager. And if you have had a great manager, that just puts you so much ahead in the career than someone who has had really bad managers.
Yeah.
And I think sadly, the more I interview, I've seen that it just depends on the kind of manager they've had in the past and what did the managers care about. Right now, what can you do as a person about that? Is basically you can just change your mentors and change who or what you care about, right? Instead of being driven by just that. For example, the people, like the best people, are actually enjoy the work. They want to sort of look at impact. And again, I'm talking about for my own company. It will differ, right? It will differ. Some companies will want other things. For us, for us, we really want. If you want to make an impact, right? Usually, for example, if you're writing copy, writing content, and you're really driven and self-motivated towards making an impact, you keep sort of doing, you have that core skill of writing, which is like table stakes. Everyone knows, like everyone who you are competing with knows how to write. Then you'll probably add, let's say, copywriting, or you'll add like UX skills to it so that you can create a larger impact, or you start doing SEO. You'll get basic SEO. You start sort of increasing how much impact you can create. And then because you sort of enjoy the process, that, okay, wow, now I can create a larger impact. It just keeps growing and growing and growing till a point where you sort of understand a lot of complementary skills to your core skill, or maybe like, and it just keeps like the best people want to make a bigger impact, and they have a clear path of like gaining skill sets towards making a larger impact always. Like that's been like one common thing
Yeah,
I've seen.
great answer. Great answer. Makes sense. So what you say is a combination of three things. One is find good people to work for or work with. And once you have found these people, you want to make sure that your impact within the organization is not limited. There should be no bounds. And this is something I can speak freely about this because this is exactly what I've written on my LinkedIn profile in the
Yeah.
description section, right? Is that work with good people, and then you want to make sure that there are no bounds within the organization on what kind of inputs you can give, right? So if you are a copywriter, but if you want to do UX or if you want to do product management, you should be able to, your company should allow you to explore that so that you can not only help the company, but you can grow for yourself, right? So add more complementary skills.
Just once you complete, I'll talk about a policy that I'm probably going to create by the end of this month. Also, yeah,
Nice.
please.
No, so I was just wrapping my thought by saying that you want to add more skills so that you can have more impact within the company, and then for yourself, you personally grow over. So yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I want to learn more about your policy.
So, so people, there's two kinds of, like, even in people who want to create a lot of impact, right? like there's one miscommunication that you one miss, I don't know, I forgot the word. uh, anyway, there's something that people some like there's something that I would want to clarify, right? You don't always need to do more things to make a greater impact. You can have like a deep expertise, or you can have a broad expertise, right? Now, and you can be motivated by being like, I want to be the best goddamn copywriter, I want to be the best at conversion and optimization. That could be a motivator. Or I want to just be able to do a lot of different things. That could be a motivator. And there's like two kinds of these are the two ways to increase your impact, deep or broad, right? Uh, the problem is that if you don't go broad, most companies, you aren't able to become a manager or you aren't able to increase your impact, because even if you're the best copywriter in the world, you're a copywriter and you don't contribute to a lot of things. And I hate that, right? Because I keep taking the example of a copywriter because in our company we have we have some really good copywriters, and like that's always been like the most important thing about running ads is copy, right? Anyway, so one thing that I'm trying to introduce, I haven't figured it out, and if anyone has any ideas, please tell me. Right, we're probably going to introduce something called a founders team, for lack of a better name, right? Still haven't figured out the name either. So what we do there is, there will be a certain things that if you're able to achieve your KPIs, if you're able to sort of, do, I haven't figured out exactly what the criteria is. If you fulfill that KPI, that criteria, you get in this team, and then you get access to the entire business. Now, if you want to work on HR, you want to work on creating new policies, you want to work on sales, making sales better, no matter what you want to work on, irrespective of what you were doing earlier, you can also work on that. And that's sort of like a bonus place that you get. And there's going to be incentives and stuff for people who meet those criteria and work on those things. But yeah, that's something I'm probably going to create by the end of this month, so that to enable like as big an impact as you want, right? You want to 2x Spear Growth's revenue by yourself in a month. You think you can do it? Go ahead, right? Like no one's stopping you. I'll enable that, right? So that's something where I think I don't know how you would do it if that wasn't possible.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. In fact, I want to add to this, and I strongly believe in what I'm going to say.
Yep.
Is that I know a lot of people who are really smart but cannot do a job because they want to start a business, because they want to be an entrepreneur. But what they do not know is they don't want to start up. They actually, from within, it's not a startup that they want to do, but they want to, they want that freedom of being able to grow the business.
I agree. Yep.
And that is why they leave a job, they start up, they fail or succeed. That's a secondary thing. But the reason is that they wanted to have the freedom to grow a business, which if you as a business owner had given them, they would try to grow your business instead of theirs. It would be a win-win. They did not have to lose a job or go away from a job which was paying them, and then you also had a chance to hire someone who is really who has a growth mindset and wants to grow himself and the business, right? So yeah, I strongly believe that hiring entrepreneurial spirits is a really good idea, and making sure that they stay within the company or they stick with you by giving them the freedom, by giving them the resources, by giving them
incentives.
Yeah, so that they can help your business, and that is something that you do by hiring a founder's office, as you said. So I think that's a great initiative that you're doing. So that's my conclusion.
Yeah, and just like another point, you probably don't want to start a business, like just based on the stuff I've been through over the last 9 months. You probably don't want to. You'll be working on HR, you'll be working on IT, you'll be working on all of these other things that you probably don't want to work on. So if you think you want to start a business, you probably don't, right? I'm not saying you shouldn't start one. I don't regret my decision. This has been amazing, but most probably you do not want to start a business. Most probably you just want the freedom, as you've said, to like, really make an impact. And there are some companies where you can work and make that impact and then also gain a lot of incentives from it. Just FYI.
That's why Ishaan may be hiring if you want to ping him on
Oh
LinkedIn.
yeah, yeah, yeah. If you are a marketer with B2B experience, no matter what, I mean, you do, let's just say hi, right? We'll be hiring very aggressively from next month onwards. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, I think it's time for us to wrap. But before we do that, do you have any advice, any parting words for people who may want to be marketers, for students who may be looking for job, or for entrepreneurs who may be looking to start an agency? Could be three different ones or all in one.
I think we already covered all of it, right? If you are looking to start up, most probably you don't want to, right? Try and first be the founding team member of a few companies, uh, right? And then there are litmus tests to see if you have a good enough network and stuff like that, because that gives you a huge boost in your company, right? When you start up. So yeah, just sort of figure that out. Start probably most probably you want to start with a co-founder, but you also want to have worked with that co-founder for at least a year before that. I did not. So again, that's something that if I went back and if I had a co-founder that I could start with, I would have done that. That just increases the space you can grow and the number of things you can do, uh, and just like how happy you are, with the work that you're doing. So just try and look at that. People looking for jobs, if you're a B2B marketer, hey, just say hi to me. For but yeah, just I don't know, like I think I'm biased towards people who are intrinsically motivated, and I'm just looking for those people. So most of my advice is going to be there. But then even if you don't really need to be like, everyone does not need to be super motivated about a job, right? You probably, I mean, if you just come in, you want to go and do the work, go log out, right? That's really fine, right? Join a larger organization. So the kind of organization or the size of organization, the kind of leadership that you join into, should align with your life goals. If you're in a phase of life where you just want to grow really fast, join an early stage company. Join someone where there's a small team, there's a more chaos than a larger company where there aren't like as many restrictions. Otherwise, join a larger company, right? Like that would be like for job seekers, for entrepreneurs. Yeah, that's basically it.
Oh man, okay, great advice. Love it. Okay, last question.
Yep.
One book that you recommend everyone to read.
Um, I forgot the name of the book. Um, there's this.
This is what happens when you have no pre-decided agenda.
Yeah, I just posted like a complete. 1 second. I posted a complete. Yeah, a post on like on different books that I read. But if the Unfair Advantage is an amazing book that I would recommend everyone to read, whether you're a marketer, your management, no matter what, read the Unfair Advantage. It's beautiful book. Very boring to read, honestly. Like I like reading fast-paced books, but the message in there is worth it. It's like definitely read it. Yeah.
Um, okay, cool. Makes sense. I think we're over time, but thanks a lot, Ishat, for taking time and doing this. I appreciate you being a part of this for the first episode, and I hope that we have you again very soon.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Definitely. And are we meeting up today?
Today is going to be hard. Maybe tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow.
Got it.
Let's meet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for joining, everyone.
Thank you. Bye. Thanks, Ishan. Bye, everyone. Thanks a lot. Drop a like. Oh, we won't forget the 100 liking, right? Once we reach 100 likes, you can ping me, reminding that, hey, there's 100 likes, or I'll also keep looking. And then once we reach 100 likes, Ishan will make a Notion template that you can use to track your goals, business, wealth,
Yep.
relation, personal, and then I will put the link in the description. So
Yep.
yeah, like please. Okay, cool. Thanks, Ishaan.
Yeah.
See you tomorrow, and thank you everyone
Yeah,
for
man. Yeah. Bye.
bye. Bye. Take care.